It comes to no surprise that when people look at a furry convention, most would consider it as just an event where furries get together to have a good time. However, in reality, it is much more than that. Cause in retrospect, a FurCon plays a much more important and wholesome role. And that is to raise money for charity. Now, the charity that a convention chooses is always different across each con, but most always follow the same principle. The most common charities selected to be represented at a FurCon usually have to deal with animal welfare, such as shelters and preservations, as well as LGBTQ+ friendly groups, while some have also focused on wildfire relief, homelessness, and hunger organizations. Take AnthroCon for instance, one of the largest and well-recognized furry conventions out there, who in 2025, with an attendance of over 18,000, raised over $87,000 for a volunteer-run cat shelter. Midwest Fur Fest, who annually selects a different animal-related charity each year, raised over $1 million as of 2023 since launching in the year 2000. Eurofritz, a European convention based out of Germany, who in 2022, with an attendance just shy of 3,500, raised over 33,000 euros for the Cheetah Preservation Foundation. Then there are smaller cons, with a smaller attendance that pay no expense, such as Furpocalypse, a Halloween-themed convention based in Connecticut, who in 2023, with an attendance around 1,800, raised a little over $13,000 for a LGBTQ+ supportive empowerment youth. Now, I could sit here and run statistics all day, as there are several different conventions worldwide, but those are just to name a few examples. And when it comes to fundraising, every con has their own special ways. Some of the more common ways of fundraising that can be found across all conventions, such as silent auctions, where furries personally donate items to be auctioned off. Items can range from personal art pieces, con memorabilia, trinkets, and even some obscure items that can go for crazy bids. Just a few prime examples of how far furries will go with their generosity. Another way a con raises money is what is known as a bucket brigade, where fursuiters will voluntarily go out in con with a bucket in paw, asking for donations from congoers by performing in suit through various means.
There it goes. It's almost in there.
Oh no!
Of course, there are other ways that furries raise money, such as charity streams, casino nights, karaoke, dunk tanks, even pinball tournaments. There's also in some instances in which a charity will work directly with furries to incorporate them into their organization. One of which I found out, surprisingly, happens to be relatively close to me by a 30-minute drive, which, for the sake of the video, I would like to take the time to focus on. Meet the Short Folks for Hope, a non-profit family-run charity created by Kristen Short, a cancer survivor who made Short Folks as a way to help support families and individuals going through the struggles of cancer through various means. Whether it be helping cover monetary expenses, raising awareness, or giving smiles to those in need. With their mission being to empower, encourage, and celebrate cancer warriors of all ages with special projects, and to inspire youth to be courageous, compassionate members of our communities. The charity has also been featured in a couple of main-based cons as their charity of choice, and for a project that incorporates furries into their charity that they call Furry Ambassadors, led and formed by Laguna, a very charming and goofy Dutch angel dragon known for her fursuit dancing and crafty character performance that can put a smile on anyone's face, who likes to get into very comical mischief when you're not looking. But most importantly, the two sides come together to not only give back and help those going through cancer, but to also help provide the furry community a positive light by showing what it's really all about, which is full of caring and compassion.
So we are Short Folks for Hope Foundation. We are a 501c3 cancer support charity here in Oxford Hills. We take care of cancer warriors and their families, both locally and from around the country where we're requested. We help out warriors from pediatric to geriatric and everything in between. Part of our mission is to inspire and give opportunities for kids to be creative, compassionate members of our communities, and that involves starting out with the Short family, the Short kids. Were 3, 7, and 9 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2010. So I started Short Folks for Hope in 2012 as a way to help other families going through cancer diagnoses. And we found out very quickly that a cancer diagnosis impacts the whole family. So it's not just the person going through the treatment itself, but everyone in the family and in the circle. So our goal was, I really wanted to see, ways that we could help out families going through this and to help them through that. And it's not always financial. A little bit of support goes a long way. So it's, everyone's journey is very, very unique, and we, try to honor that with the, everyone that we have the opportunity to help. And, in our way, we find the creative ways to make a difference. Pretty much started out as a fundraising entity for the Dempsey Center. So because that was where I was treated at Central Bay Medical Center, and I was fortunate to be introduced to Mary Dempsey and to the Dempsey Center very early after my news, which was really hard. It's like the rug being ripped out from under you. Nothing that I ever dreamed that I was going to get the words "you have cancer." It was difficult to explain to okay, they have so many questions that you can't answer, and those first moments, there's just a lot of uncertainty, and it's really difficult to process. I look back at that moment at my very first appointment after getting the news, where they said, okay, you got to come in Friday, and we're going to set up all your appointments. And what the plan was, and the nurse who was handing me all these appointment cards, so I'm looking at this stack of cards and just completely overwhelmed. And she took my hand and said, I am a cancer survivor. This is going to be the hardest year of your life, but I know that you'll get through it. And just that personal touch, yes, with you, and it made all the difference, because I felt so alone sitting in this chair with this whole stack of cards, and realizing that there's someone else that is standing here talking to me, who's got all her hair and has a smile, and actually is able to, just by her presence and her smile and her kindness, to make a difference in how I was feeling at that very moment. So I'm very blessed to have had opportunities like that, and I really kind of clung on to those moments and really took them to heart, that made a difference in something so simple that you don't maybe think of what a kind word or a gesture may have that large of an impact on someone, but it really did. So from the very beginning, each of us had a ways of fundraising that was, individual to our own abilities and likes and talents. Laguna started with yarn crafts, so she'd make these little yippy people. That was an expression of, joy, really, that was made out of crochet yarn. That was her own creation. my son was doing Legos to go, so the kids, in cancer treatment or, taking trips, had something to go, that they could build, Legos on, you go to treatment or stuff. And our youngest, he did bands and badges for hope, so, silicone badges with hopeful messages. And my husband actually gets the award for the most creative fundraising, and he's like, it's really hard to ask people for money. So he's like, what if we could give something for a donation? And so he's like, well, I want to get an ice cream cart. Let's have a family ice cream cart and, take it to events and raise money for charity. So, okay, let's give it a go. So we started Cool Treats for Charity. And so we, as a family, would purchase the ice cream, and we bring it to events, and supporting, like Cancer Warriors when they have a fundraising event to help them, help their family, help them through treatment, expenses and that sort of thing. So we bring the cart and donate the proceeds from that. That's been a fun way of fundraising. We do everything from sports events to theater events and warrior fundraising and such like that. So each of those little facets are, what can I do? What can I do to make a difference that I'll feel, like I can do something that brings me joy, that I have this ability. That brings us up to Laguna, who is the start of our Furries for Hope project. And so, she was the first of the three siblings to really branch out, and this is her project. She has created this wonderful creature who has really become beloved for youngsters in particular that are going through treatment. Camp Sunshine is an absolutely magical place that we love to go, and we've been going there since 2017, and that's when Laguna came on the scene. In any walk of life, we have the ability to inspire others and do good for others, and I think that's definitely something that she wanted to be able to bring about. Here's this teenager that came out and said, this is what I want to do. And in the years following, seeing what Laguna's accomplished, she's so proud of the work that she does, and the very positive light and things that she brings to the fandom and to her species and to young people, and giving back to the community, being a really good representation of what a great furry can be. So our primary furries in our organization are Laguna, the Dutch Angel Dragon, and Mama Bear Calliope. Laguna actually helped create Mama Bear as my character, and I'm really enjoying her. We've had her for 2 years, and she is a wonderful teacher. Having a character like hers is like running a marathon. with Laguna, when she started this project, her motto was, I want to bring smiles to those who have forgotten theirs. And she most definitely does that. And we've had a lot of smiles between us as we were, she's, teaching me the ropes on how to safely suit. and it's definitely a joy and a lot of fun to see how your how your audience reacts. So Camp Sunshine is a respite camp on Sebago Lake. It is a camp for kids with life-threatening illnesses, and it is a place for them and their families to come free of charge for a week's stay, so that kids can be around kids that are kind of going through the same thing. And some of those kids are in active treatment, and some are in remission, or it's a really beautiful way to celebrate, and they do all kinds of fun things. Our little bit of joy that we're very proud of, being invited to do is to come during many of the sessions for a brief period. So it's an hour, and G and I get a workout because those kids, especially in the toddler room, you never know how many you're going to get, and but she is able to melt a room every time, hands down. We've had every time that we visit Camp Sunshine, we bring something for everyone. So there's a little gift for each of you. Oh, the lays. So Laguna thought the last 2 times that we've gone, she's like, I want to give, I want to give something special, different, that we've done this year. And she's got her little Hawaiian flower thing there. She's like, why don't we have lays for everyone? In addition to some of the other things we have takeaways. Well, it was a huge hit this year. Yes, everyone was beautiful because they were all wearing lays, but oh my goodness, we had lays all over Camp Sunshine, and it was really fun. They were able to choose which ones they want, but it was like a big luau. We had flowers everywhere, and lots of kids had bears to take and such. So it was very, very colorful and a lot of fun. So we find ways to to change it up when we go to different events. She's an amazing kid at heart, herself, and she puts herself right in their place. She's down on the level with them. She's shy, she's goofy. And every one of those kiddos that they've said that they're really not going to want to see Laguna, or the first ones up, and she's just very magical in so many ways, and we're very blessed that she's able to do this work. And I really enjoyed the furry fandom. They have been the most generous, creative group of people. They never cease to amaze me, and they're a lot of times quiet about their support. The events where specifically for Cation, where we have the opportunity to have be in the charity area, and folks come and share their stories, and there's just some really amazing stories that people have shared, of their own journeys, of their experiences. Sometimes we're kind of the triage. This last event, there were three people that were right in the trenches going through it, and we're glad to be at this event, but struggling, because it's like, there's all this happy stuff going on, and I'm struggling because I'm dealing with some heavy stuff. I think that as we're saying, there's some people don't understand the fandom, and so yeah, I definitely I got coined con mom early on, and but I definitely feel that when you've got some folks, I really support her in what she does, and I know that sometimes families don't understand and don't support those that are they just want to create their character, and it gives them a way to express themselves. And it's I see some people being able to really create beautiful versions of themselves that help them to grow and understand and communicate better out of suit. So I have a soft heart for a lot of the furry folks that we've been able to meet. So the funds go to special gifts that we put together for these families, very very individual to the situation. We do encouragement packs for cancer warriors in treatment, and they can be any age, and they're all individually tailored for each cancer warrior. So again, it could be someone who's in active treatment, someone who's in survivorship but is struggling. It could be unfortunately, a bereaved family. We work a lot with them, and that's an angel bear up here. Some of these folks are having to pay a lot of money to get treatment in Boston, so it's gas, so gas cards and things to just kind of ease the burden, of treatment. We're not a big wish-making entity, but we have Wishes for Hope, which we were recently able to help a stage 4 cancer warrior who was very much wanting to see her grandkids in Florida but couldn't afford to get down there. So, a $500 gift that made the difference for her to be able to go on that. So it's not like a $10,000 wish, which those are amazing that other organizations are able to do, but it's the creative fulfillment of a wish to make things happen, and we've been very fortunate to be able to do that. Having sponsors like Vacation has been enormously helpful for us to be able to branch out and reach more kids and reach more adults. And with the additional fundraising that sponsors have done, it's made a humongous difference in how we can help others, and we just keep going. So we're very fortunate to be able to keep to keep helping those who need. Cancer warrior is anyone that's going through cancer treatment or has gone through treatment. So some people just refer to it as a cancer survivor. Cancer survivor is someone that's either actively dealing with it or has dealt with it in the past. And I have to say the phrase cancer warrior really came into play with our friend Vivian. Vivian St. Onge was an original board member of Short Folks for Hope when we started. I met her in cancer treatment. She was an oncology nurse and a good friend mutual friend of ours. We all hit it off very, very well, and she was just very vibrant, and say, I don't want to be called a survivor. I want to be a cancer warrior, because in her case, unfortunately, hers became advanced stage, so there never was that I survived this, and thinking that, some people, when you hear survivor, you just think, oh, it's in the past. Well, it's not necessarily the case, and unfortunately, not everyone's journey, ends in that direction, which is hard. And it's hard even as a survivor. You can have that survivor guilt. I definitely feel that, because I'm like, okay, I'm here. I really feel I'm here for a reason, and I gotta, I'm using every day to the best of my ability, and every day is a gift, so I want to be able to help others. And in her case, that was her, she's like cancer warrior, and so we've always gone from that, and kind of kept that. It's a good way to show that it takes resilience, and you can't give up. It's part of it. You really never give up hope, and that's one of our mottos, to really think of it. Sometimes, like I said, not everyone's journey is the same, and sometimes it has difficult ends, but not giving up hope, throughout that journey really does make a difference in how you confront it, and how you live it. Living with cancer is difficult, but you are living it, and I'm grateful to be the support and be a part of, a cancer warrior's journey. It's a labor of love. This really, it's a huge to my heart, and it's one of those things that, when life is really busy and you're like, you got all this stuff to do, and I have a full-time job, and I'm a mom, and you do the things that you have to do to make a living. When it comes into that moment where you are face to face with people that you are wanting to help, it is a joy. Thinking about, I mean, the kids in particular, I mean, really, you know, are you know, endearing to my heart, but there are adults that don't have sometimes the understanding and support that I was blessed to have. I had my family, and they were right in the trenches with me, and, you know, we're talking about when my hair was falling out, you know, we had the whole family helping to shave my head, and, you know, so I look back at my own experiences and how fortunate I was, and it was really a scary, you know, situation to go through, but not doing it alone. Well, no one should go through it alone, as the, you know, Cancer Resource Center of Western Maine says. It's important. You need people. You need people who care, and even if they can't change your diagnosis, they are there for you to just to be, you know. And, so that's what keeps us going. In my situation, my family just really they got me through it. You know what I mean? And having kids that are depending on you, even when you're feeling really crummy, was kind of a hard thing, because there were times I was like, you know, but just knowing that they loved me and, you know, really tried to reel me out of that and say, you know, we need you, you know, so hang in there. Made a big difference. You know, sometimes people don't have families. Sometimes people don't have people that understand. So that makes it hard. So when you say, I mean, people become family, even if they're not your blood family. I think that, you know, during your journey, you having a circle, even a small circle of people that understand and like I said, are just there to listen to you, because, you know, it's not always easy to express what you're feeling, what you're thinking, you know, when you're going through treatment, because there are so many things that you don't know, you know, that are the uncertainties, and I think that's what makes it more difficult, because you can't just say, oh, I'm going to be fine tomorrow, or this will be that, you know. So it does make it difficult, but, you know, for anyone that has the, you know, the ability and the heart to just sit and listen and be there for Cancer Warrior and the families, we're very grateful for that.